Surdas and their vision. In the 15th century, there lived a great saint called Surdas. Surdas was a great poet who continuously chanted the name of Krishna. He chanted the name of God while dancing all over the place. Surdas, at birth blind, he was rejected by his parents, and his brothers and sisters completely ignored him. One day, when he was 9 years old, he said,
"Since no one loves me, I will commit suicide."
as he was about to kill himself, he heard some people doing Sankirtan, chanting the glory of Lord Krishna. Hearing the music, he followed it, which like a magnet drew him to them. A great love began to awaken in his heart, and all negativity thoughts of killing himself disappeared from his mind. He resolved to surrender to the Lord, and so he began to follow Sankirtan. For months and months, people saw that wherever they went, there was this blind boy following them. So they start to help him. They start to take care of him, give him this love, and his heart opened. They start talking to him about Krishna, and Surdas become completely immersed in him. During this period, he also met his guru and was initiated into the divine names. When the time came, everyone in Sankirtan's party went home except Surdas. He started wandering all over the place until he reached Vrindavan. He didn't know where he was. He just sat and chanted the name of Radha Krishna continuously. Surdas stayed outside Vrindavan, but nobody knew him, nobody cared for him. At that time, Vrindavan was a forest, like a jungle. But as time went by, people start noticing Surdas and start going to meet him, but he wouldn't accept anything from anyone. Sometimes he would go without food for days and days. He didn't accept anything. One day, a little boy came to him and brought him food. Surdas asked the boy,
"Who are you?"
He said, "Well, I live in Vrindavan. I am a resident of Vrindavan." So the boy said, "Look, as long as I'm here in my home, nobody goes hungry." This is a Vaishnava tradition. Whoever comes to our house should not go hungry. For months the boy brought him food every day. But one thing was strange about this food. He had already eaten everywhere, but this food, every time he ate it, he was in bliss. He was in ecstasy. He began to think,
Who could this boy be?
after a month, when the boy came, he took his hand, and the moment he did, he was filled with a current, an electric current within him. Then Surdas asked,
"Who are you? Please tell me, who are you?"
At that moment, the boy pulled back his hand. The boy said, Surdas? It was the first time. It was the first time that the boy called Surdas by his name. He said, Surdas, you ask me who I am? You come to me, to my home? Then Surdas understood that he was standing in front of Bhagavan himself, Krishna himself, face to face, and it was at that moment that Krishna gave him back his sight. He saw Bhagavan himself in front of him. For a month, Bhagavan served Surdas out of the latter's devotion to him. God is like that, you know? The bigger is the devotion you have for him, the closer to you he is, the more dear to you he becomes. Surdas was mesmerized. He was in deep ecstasy. By his simplicity, he obtained something far more valuable than anything else. The Lord asked him, "My dear Surdas, what do you want? Now that you have your vision, what do you want more? Tell me. I will give you everything you want." You know what Surdas asked for? Surdas said,
Lord, now that I've seen you, I want you to take my sight away. I don't want to see anything else.
this is what he asked for, and this is the beauty of a bhakti. You don't need to ask God for anything. He is God. He provides. He takes care of you. Bhagavan had given him the physical vision and he asked him to take it away, but he still had the inner vision. He saw everything more clearly than anyone else with the eyes of his heart. So I always saw with my heart. Then he described everything he saw. When he went to the temple, he sang about exactly what the priest was doing, every action, how the priest placed the flower on the Lord, what colors of clothing the Lord wore, and everything in detail, even the hidden things that people couldn't see outside, the things that only the priest could see from inside the temple. Surdas would stand outside singing about all the glory going on inside the temple. The priest began to question himself. He started to think, this one as strict as he's fooling everyone saying he's blind. Actually, he can't see. He just wants people pity. One day, the priest decided to test him. On this particular day, he decided not to dress Krishna. He left him naked. Priest did not even open the door to the temple. But Surdas was outside in the courtyard and the priest was listening, wondering what Surdas was going to say. Surdas began to sing. My Lord, today they forgot to dress you, they left you naked. Surdas sang in great detail how beautiful Krishna was, even naked. Oh, my Lord, in your nakedness, you are even more beautiful than in clothes. Then the priest understood that Surdas was blind to the outside, but had inner sight. Such was his love for Krishna that Surdas was one with him. This is what Surdas wrote about, what he expressed in his chants. The greatness of the devotee's love for the Lord, for the Sadguru. Surdas said to the Lord,
Lord, what have I done to deserve such grace, and what can I do to make it more and more? How do I expand this grace?
and the Lord looked at him, smiled at him, and said, My dear Surdas, love. Only through love is it possible to reach me. Only when a being possesses selfless love will he realize me. Only when this being possesses selfless love, you will be one with me. Develop such love, and I will always be with you. Such was the greatness of Bhakti within Surdas, that at one time he wanted to kill himself, yet the Lord, by his mercy, by his grace, called for his devotee.